Today presents Strike Battleship Argent, Book 1 in the Starships at War series, by Shane Lachlan Black. Copyright 2016.
AC, there's bad guys back there, Echo screamed through the door and skidded sideways to a halt. Butterfly arrived a moment later and pivoted in the air, apparently ready for more action. Are they hurt? Are they hurt? They're hurt, she exclaimed. Echo, we have to help them. Okay, Echo said, revving up alongside Lieutenant Sutherland. Clivers first, Jay said. He had the worst injuries. We didn't have the equipment to stabilize him. Acknowledged, Echo said as she swerved around and parked by the wounded man's shoulder. Her wheels locked and she deployed her sensors over his face and chest. An indicator panel rose from her dorsal chassis and began to display the wounded officer's vital signs. A small clamp reached out and fastened itself around his arm. A pressure-operated intravenous system went into operation and began to restore blood volume, fresh plasma, and oxygen levels. Almost immediately his condition improved. Lieutenant Sutherland stared in blatant disbelief. She thought the words mobile trauma unit were just talk. But here she was. A robot with the apparent personality and voice of a girl not yet out of elementary school treating her wounded comrade like a veteran battlefield medic. Don't worry, he's going to be okay, Echo said, her little light bars still going. He's just tired because he got hurt. Sutherland couldn't help but smile. Echo sounded like she was on a weekend excursion to the park to fly kites. Butterfly had landed nearby and was busy monitoring the local area communications channels. Little indicator lights blinked all around the lower edge of her airframe. Our transmissions and reception are still being jammed, AC, she said. I can't hear Rebel, Wave, or Lunar. We've got to find that jamming unit, Hunter said. Until we put it out of commission, we'll never be able to re-establish communications with the Fury. What about the rest of the mini-bots? Huggins replied. They can't take on the entire enemy force alone. Can that VLF unit communicate with the task force net? Jace shook her head. Range is too short. We can get simple messages from one side of the station to another, but we don't have the power to transmit very far beyond that. Next time, we'll just have to remember to bring more army with us. That's affirmative, XO, Hunter said. But you know, there's still one thing we can try. She pulled out the VLF transmitter again. Butterfly, did you see any airlock facilities on Deck 5 on the way over here? Yes, ma'am, the little helicopter replied. Yeah, Echo agreed. There's an emergency one right by the corner at the end of that hall. Lunar, this is AC. Can you hear me?
Shane Lachlan Black here. We built a site called jumpline.click so that we can offer our readers something called keyword navigation. We give you a keyword, you type it in the box, and you click or tap the jump button. And it takes you to a location on our network. Could be a new story chapter, could be a new book, could be a game. But where this really gets powerful is when you use a permanent keyword like today or video. Those keywords always take you to the most recent update. And what we know is that everybody that uses Jumpline is a reader. We don't have to worry about bots, we don't have to worry about slop, we don't have to worry about fake traffic. Everything on the other side of Jumpline is the internet the way it used to be. Human beings enjoying our site. There are only 3 ways to get to Jumpline. You either type the address in your browser, you use a bookmark, or you use a QR code. There's no other way to get to the site. So, the first time you visit, make sure you bookmark or find a QR code and use that each time in your mobile device. That way you're sure that you are getting to the genuine site and you're getting all of the great updates that it makes available. Watch for the keywords under the jump button. Those are always updated and they're always current. We'll see you on Jumpline. 5x5.
The progress bar on the unit moved gradually from one side of the screen to the other as the antenna converted the message to data and slowly transmitted it across the limited bandwidth available. Seconds passed. A light appeared on the unit, and another progress bar crawled across. This is Lunar, standing by. Commander Hunter keyed her message into the unit manually, using Lunar's opcodes instead of his voice interface. After several dozen keystrokes, she hit the Enable key and closed the channel. "What's the plan, Skipper?" "I planted a message for the task force in Lunar's memory. He's going to open the airlock and fly it out to the Fury courier style." "Yay, Lunar gets to go to space," Echo cheered. "I love it when he talks about going to space." "Then all we have to do is hold out for reinforcements," Huggins said, "and hope Rebel and Wave don't get vaporized in the meantime," Hunter replied. Chapter 37. "I want that ship found, Lieutenant. I don't care if it takes every fighter, gunship, and corvette we have. I want the Dunkirk located within the hour. Doverly out." Honora waited impatiently for the magneto-lift doors to open. There was one man aboard who could shed light on the events of the last 30 minutes, and he just happened to be locked in the Argent's brig. When the lift doors opened, a detachment of Marines was waiting. "I'll put my hands around his neck and leave him just enough air to explain himself," Commander Doverly muttered. She marched towards the detention deck with the 4 heavily armed Marines from 2nd Paladins trailing her path. She rounded the corner into the detention section. "Sergeant, open Brig A." "Yes, ma'am." The duty sergeant keyed his identifier and the heavy security door released its vapor seal and silently pivoted on its balanced magnetic hinges. The Argent's executive officer strode into the bay where the total prisoner population of 1 waited. "All right, Colonel, it's time for answer." Atwell's cell was empty. Chapter 38. Brittany Hawkins rounded the corner into the center deck passage on Deck 4 of DSS Exeter at exactly the wrong moment, or exactly the right moment depending on your side. The intruders had their backs turned. The lieutenant dove into a service junction and drew her weapon. She keyed her comlink and set it to intra-ship. "Hawkins to bridge." "Nothing." "Hawkins to bridge, come in. Emergency." Static. "Jammed?" Without time to make a plan, Hawkins peered out into the hallway, pulling her blaster weapon up by her ear. A sudden grasping weight slammed her against the bulkhead. She tried to turn under her attacker's hands, but she was off balance and stumbled out into the hall. Her weapon clattered to the deck just before a gloved clout spun her back against a locked hatch. At that moment, a Marine PFC rounded the corner. "Hey!" Everyone looked up at once. The black-suited intruder and the Marine grappled violently for a moment before the PFC was heaved back. Hawkins dove for her weapon. A blast of white-hot plasma energy impacted the bulkhead. Showers of sparks lit up the small hallway and junction just as the Marine regained his footing. The lights flickered. "Intruders! Intru!" A hard arm to the neck silenced the young PFC, but the sharp sound of his warning had carried. 3 more men and 1 woman emerged from hatches on either side of the cross corridor and ran towards the disturbance. Finally, Hawkins gathered up her weapon and opened up on the large group of unidentified personnel at the opposite end of the center deck passage. She fired twice, hitting 1 in the leg and missing wide with her second shot. A burst of rapid-fire plasma answered and she scrambled into the cross corridor. A voice shouted from further down the hall. "Sound the deck alarm! Repel boarders! All Exeter Marines acknowledge!" Hawkins finally got to her feet and ran towards the small squad. The lights shifted red and the ship-wide alert system began to sound. "What have we got, ma'am?" A young strike sergeant who couldn't have been older than 20 asked. 2 dozen. Armed. Not sure why they picked Deck 4 or how they got aboard, but there you have it. Communications are... Hawkins's comlink beeped. "Bridge. Get me the officer of the watch." "Commander Pierce has the con. Report." "Intruders, Deck 4. Exeter 1st Marines engaging. Hawkins out." The sergeant pulled the bolt on his TK-40. "What's the word, ma'am?" Hawkins glared past the wide contusion on the left side of her face, still trying to catch her breath. "Get those bastards off my ship, Sergeant." The young Marine hefted his shock rifle and grinned. "Yes, ma'am." Chapter 39. Lunar emerged from Survey Station 19's jamming field just in time to hear DSS Exeter's sitrep. Constellation and Minstrel were already veering in the chunky little destroyer's direction to provide screening and protection from any potentially hostile vessels. The Minibot's sensors did not have the range of the larger ships, but Lunar was able to verify there were no hostile contacts in his command area. For now. He added himself to the Perseus datanet and requested instructions from the Force Command battle computer. He was directed to establish contact with Exeter, relay his message, and then join Exeter's escort formation. So that's exactly what he did. Exeter's communications officer shouted over the overlapping orders and general urgency on the bridge. "I have a priority message from Commander Task Force Perseus." There was near instant silence. "Say again?" "It's from Commander Hunter." "On screen," Pierce ordered. The comms officer switched displays and Jace Hunter appeared on the Exeter's main viewer. "This is Hunter on Survey Station 19. My minibots have engaged intruders near record storage. We have wounded. I need Exeter Squads 2 and 4 and an emergency medical team to board this station and relieve our landing party immediately. All ships to battle stations, intruder protocols. I want a hard perimeter around Station 19 at 500 miles. Unidentified ships get 1 warning. Hunter out." The Exeter Bridge went to work with the quiet, smooth efficiency Skywatch was known for. In a matter of moments, orders had been coded and received by the Exeter 1st Marines, and assault ships were powering up their engines. It just so happened this was all taking place during a brutal firefight on Exeter's Deck 4. Sooner, Lieutenant Hawkins climbed past a grim-faced squad of heavily armed Marines and ran up to the man she had originally come to Deck 4 to see. "Brittany, what the hell are you doing here? This place is a shooting gallery. What happened?" She always got a flutter when she saw that tough face change into a look of tender concern for her. Sooner guided her into a small, out-of-the-way room to avoid the quick-moving security details filling the cross corridor outside. "Your face is bruised." The moment the door closed, she reached up and hugged his neck and kissed him desperately. Then they embraced tightly and she sighed. "I was so worried you would run out a door at the wrong time," she gushed, eyes closed. "You're not going to tell me why your face is bruised, are you?" "Nope." Gunnery Sergeant Jack Sooner Daly held Hawkins and stroked her hair. Times like this were always hard on the 2 young Skywatch leaders. Their whirlwind affair had begun at the academy, where Daly had been a hand-to-hand combat instructor. In the 6 weeks between Hawkins's graduation and her official acceptance of an officer's commission, falling in love with her martial arts instructor was technically not against regulations. The 2 lovers found themselves assigned to the same ship not long after. Their professional relationship only made things more awkward since technically she now outranked him. There was also the small matter of officers and gunnery sergeants being prohibited from fraternizing. "You need to get out of here and someplace safe." "I'm accompanying the team down to the station," she replied. He took a breath to answer and she put her fingers on his lips. "No arguments this time, baby. I think I know what the intruders are after and I need to be on that station and get the commander to greenlight my theory. Just get me a tack suit and a power pack for my weapon." "It will interfere with my squad." "And why is that?" "Because my squad sergeant is going to be too distracted trying to keep the lieutenant from getting shot." "Well, the sergeant's just going to have to rationalize that decision with 2 things. 1, you don't have a choice, and 2, the lieutenant is going to be making sure the sergeant doesn't get shot." "You know I love you, Britt," she beamed, "but one of these days you're going to get it. After we take care of business, Sergeant Daly." "Gunnery Sergeant, ma'am." "Yeah." They kissed again. Chapter 40. When Hart said this thing was deserted, she wasn't kidding, Lucas Moody said.
Wolverines!
The rest of the story is only one keyword away. Visit jumpline.click in your browser. New keywords are activated every day. Get access to our entire catalog of science fiction, fantasy, and gamelit.